Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, y'all? Trent Small, the chef, aka Red Specs. I'm here with my brother and co-host, Papa Wolf, aka Alpha Moon, is in the building. Give him a round of applause.
In the building, baby.
Also, BK Pinky will be with us later on for that street news. Y'all know about that too. Give him that big siren in the air. Food for thought, you guys. We come live Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. We bring real talk on food, music, and the truth that matters to our listeners.
Facts.
Also, as you guys know, catch us streaming live on YouTube and listen to our audio version on Spotify for creators. So this is going to be an exciting episode, man.
I can't wait to get into it, Respects. It's going to go down.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it. Let's go.
A new year calls for a new kind of podcast. Live every Thursday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, man. Food for thought.
Baby.
Yeah, man. It's another Thursday, and we're so glad to have our amazing listeners and our viewers back with us. And thank you for tuning in live with us here at Food for Thought. Yeah, man. Remember, before we dive in, don't forget to follow, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell right there so you won't miss an episode. We appreciate you, no doubt about that. Yeah, so welcome to Food for Thought, right? The show where flavor meets frequency.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And every bite comes with a side of real talk.
And knowledge. I'm your host, and this isn't just another podcast. It's a table set for culture, creativity, and the conversations that feed your soul. Here, we're breaking bread with artists, activists, entrepreneurs, and everyday visionaries. People shaping the world through what they create, what they cook, and what they believe in. So whether you're digging into bold dishes or bold ideas, Food for Thought is a story simmering and truth gets served hot here on Not
Food
cold.
for Thought. Not cold, baby.
Not cold. Hot.
Yeah, man. So pull up that chair, man. Bring your appetite and let's get into it, man. This is Food for Thought, man, where your plate is just the beginning. So what's up, brother? Because I know we've been off for a couple of days and I was just enjoying my days off and stuff like that, man. It rained a couple of days, but it's sunny right now. So everything is cool, man. Everything is cool, man.
Well, no, I was in the South. It was raining. It was pouring. Thunder was cracking so loud, the house was shaking. I was like, yo, I didn't know what was going on. So, but in the news, we got a lot of stuff going on in the news, just a lot of things together, putting it together. So I'm glad you enjoyed your day off because I was working. I was working, baby.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like you said, there's so much news, so much stuff going on. We're going to cover that in the back portion of this episode with BK Pinky.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about a couple of things that's going on. Remember, donations and gifts are always accepted here at Food for Thought. You can cash app us at Food for Thought foodforthought1424@gmail, or you can zell us at foodforthought1424@gmail. Checks and money orders are always accepted here. We don't turn no money away. You know what I mean? So you can drop us that. Also, you can watch us at Rumble at Food for Thought. There you can catch our older videos and all our episodes over there. Tune in, binge, and catch up on that. Also, you can catch up on our episodes every Friday, starting at 7 a.m. and then again at 3 p.m. on Brooklyn Free Speech TV, Channel 3. And that's available on Spectrum, Optimum, RCN, and Verizon channels.
Everywhere, baby. We everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. So tune in and don't miss out on that, man. Binge, man. Binge to catch up to us. Also, you got talent, got a message, we want to see it. Food for Thought is now accepting video submissions of all genres, whether it's original music, spoken word, or impactful community work. We want to showcase your creativity here on the show, man. So we would like you to submit your MP4 files and a chance to be featured here on FFT. Send all submissions to foodforthought1424@gmail.com. Let's shine a spotlight on your work. Also, head over to our website and grab some of that urchin.
You said urchin.
Urchin merchandise, and log into my blog. Enjoy my food conversation, man, because our food conversation is amazing. Send me some pictures. Yeah, the food is great. I show you guys where I've been at. I have some photos there. Send me your photos. Send me your photos of what you're cooking and what you guys are doing. So that's what I want to hear here at Food for Thought. Yeah, man. So AK,
yes,
what you got? What we got coming up tonight?
Man, today, let me read this. I wrote something down real quick, but today's going to be a good show. Coming up later on today in the show, we have a special guest you don't want to miss. Hailing from Spanish Harlem, El Barrio, my hood, my hometown, born and raised.
No
He's
doubt.
a proud Puerto Rican, an artist who wears many creative hats. He's an actor, a director, a photographer, a filmmaker, Marc Reign. His powerful storytelling, he will let us know, and you guys got to hear this. This guy is from El Barrio. He did his thing.
Yeah,
and I'm
man.
so proud to have him here. So can't wait to get into that with the brother, man.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And it's crazy because I met this brother through Jose Rivera, Extremist Radio. Big up to them.
Big up.
And I didn't know Mark from a hole in the wall. He looked familiar from around the way, but I didn't really know him. But I went to one of his meetings, and that's when we were getting ready for the parade. And he was this friendly dude, man, and he made me feel comfortable where I was at. You know, because I was sitting at the panel and he just looked up and he must have been like, who's this guy here? You know, sitting here. I never seen him before, right? So I introduced myself and stuff like that or whatever and stuff that I do. And it was just like I knew the brother for a long time after that. You know
why? You know why, Respects? Because
El Barrio.
There you go. So
there you go.
You know what I'm saying? That's it. You know what I'm saying? Real recognized, real, we lived all our life, in El Barrio. You know what I'm saying?
It was a pleasure.
People, man. And I'm glad that y'all linked up. Of course, I couldn't link up because I'm down here in the South, but you gave me the rundown, and I'm glad everything popped off real well. So that's why I'm excited to speak with him and everything like that. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Let's give a shout out to our sponsors tonight, because our sponsors help build a stronger platform within this industry So let's get to that one.
Today's episode is sponsored by Dubby Energy Drinks. Dubby allows you to have faster reaction time paired with laser-sharp focus without the jitters or a crash. If you want to start winning more, this is for you. The Premium Energy Drink Dubby.
Get 10% off your entire order from Dubby when you use coupon code Food for Thought, which helps support the podcast.
What's up? What's up? Yeah, man. Yeah. Scan that QR code in the right-hand corner to get more information about this show and what we're doing in the future and what platforms we're on. Scan that code right there. Yep. So today, let me get into it. Hold on. Let me look at my platform here real quick, AK. Yeah. So today on the show, right, we're diving deep into the story of a true multidimensional captive. Someone who walked away from the structure of mechanical engineering. This man was a mechanical engineer to chase his wild dreams. Okay. Once again, like you said, this brother's from Spanish Harlem. He's a proud Puerto Rican artist who made his mark as an actor, director, photographer, and filmmaker.
Many hats.
With over 14 years of creating, performing, and capturing life through lenses, he's a force in the art world and a voice of creative reinventions. Before we get into our guests, I want you guys to check this out, this clip.
Hey, Junior Suarez. Detective Stabler, this is Sergeant Bell. You been working nights?
It's prison. It's loud as hell in those tears. I look forward to dialysis. It's the only quiet I get.
How long you been locked up?
5 years, but I love it.
You love it?
Mm-hmm. If I got out, I'd have to pay for these treatments out of pocket.
Yeah, co-pays, those are the real crimes.
How do you know Phil McBride?
Who?
Guy who lost his head.
Decapitated.
Oh,
Your DNA was at the crime scene.
must be some mistake at the lab. Because I've been right here. And these walls, they move for no man.
You're not listening. We said we will be here by 9 p.m.
She can wait.
I don't make you wait. Why would I make her wait?
No, you can't, so instead.
Let me get 2 tequila shots, please.
Shut up. Look, it's not that serious, all right? Let it go. Bro, it is that serious. You invited me out, and instead we come running when Nadine calls?
Bro, you was on the phone with me when she called. Why didn't you say something then?
That's not the point. Like, why are we even here? You can't dance like that.
I can dance better than you.
Ah, that's funny.
Not as funny as your 2 left feet.
Yo, why you making a mess?
Because we know you got a cell phone in there somewhere.
We're not allowed.
So this girl, your DNA is all over her rape kit.
Yo, this is my home, man. Take it easy.
Yo, how'd you get the job to rape her? There it is, you see that?
Well, I certainly did. Like a little boy who just stole a 20 out of his mama's purse.
What are you gonna do? I'm already in jail for life.
Junior, who paid you?
I was moonlighting. Like you cops do. When you work security at Walmart.
Found something.
That's not mine.
It's not. No? Well, then you won't mind if we take it with us.
Let's go to the prison library, check out the computers.
You look great.
Thank you. You do too.
Thank you. Hold on, let me, I gotta make a phone call real quick.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, God? Yeah, what's up? I'm with her right now. Just like you said. But listen, I'm telling everyone you're the realest. Amen.
Please tell me you're not a cornball, because if you are, I'm gonna go right back inside.
No. Chill. Tranquila, I'm just joking. It bothers me that you're always here, bro. You could be doing so much more, but you limit yourself.
I want to end up like Poppy.
Happy?
But was he, though? Happy.
Of course. Despite all the financial troubles, Papi was happy. Él tenía fuego.
Salsa dancing?
Familia. Papi had us, bro. And mommy. Did it ever occur to you that Papi was happy in that video, not because he was dancing with the partner, but our mom?
Stand up. Hands where I can see. Clear. Clear here.
Can I help you with something, officer? A professional cock blocking business.
Explain this to me.
I got you. It's like being a wingman, right? But we're cock blocking people wherever. Parties, bars. Wait. Here's the best part. You know what I call it? The professional cock blocking business. 1-800 cock blockers.
Welcome, Marc Reign, to the show. What's up, brother? What's good? What's
Yo, respects, AK Alpha Moon. What's going on, my brothers?
What's up, brothers?
Man.
It's a pleasure to have you here today, man. And we just want to chop it up with you and get in that head of yours, man, and see what's good, man.
That's it, man. That 1-800 had me laughing, man. That 1-800.
Yeah, that movie was a trip, man. The director still wants to release that somewhere. You know, I told him just to put it out because that movie is already a few years old. But the concept was so fun. You know, it was about this entrepreneur who's trying to help his mom and then just discovers that he could come out with a business, a cock blocking business. And it's like, it's silly as fuck, man, but it's so good.
Wow.
So
That's
good.
cool.
Well, with your broad portfolio, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
Like your body of work, you have so much that we've been pouring over and looking at, and I commend you on that. But take us back. Oh, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want then start off the show. Tell everybody who you are and where you come from, my brother. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Hey, man, I appreciate you again. I go by Marc Reign. I'm an actor, filmmaker, you know, like you said, photographer, editor. I mean, I've done all of it, you know.
Right.
But I'm born and raised in Spanish Harlem, man, El Barrio, and you know, I make sure I rep, you know, I rep that everywhere I go.
Yeah,
you know,
no doubt. We do it too.
Yeah,
we do it too every time.
I can feel it. You know what I mean?
Mark, I'm in the South, and they say, "Where you from?" I said, "I'm from Harlem, El Barrio, Spanish Harlem, not West Harlem, Spanish Harlem." That's it. And this is the only place I ever moved to, you know, from El Barrio right here. So
let me ask you something. What inspired you to walk away from mechanical engineering and dive headfirst into acting and filmmaking?
Oh man, it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. You know, everybody's trying to figure out what they're trying to do with their lives. You know what I mean? I wanted to be a lot of things at first when I was trying to figure it out. My dad, you know, he's an engineer. My mom was a social worker, and you know, our families, they don't really push us to do, you know, to do anything outside of something that feels stable, right? So it's like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, you know, be an engineer, you know, something that feels stable. So I was really good at math, you know, and my brain is kind of set up to look at it, you know, to figure out equations and stuff like that. And so I went and got an associate's in mechanical engineering. And then I was working, you know, with my dad at his company, doing all types of stuff. You know, I was installing stuff, assembling stuff. I was doing 3D drawings. And what happened was I ended up going back to school to get a bachelor in mechanical engineering. And it was in that process that I discovered that ain't really what I want to do forever. You know?
How old were you? How old was you that time? At that time when you figured that out?
Oh man, this was 2010. So that's 15 years ago. I was 20, 21.
Yeah. At that time, you still don't know what you want to.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're still figuring it out. And
yeah, man.
You know, I could have stayed with engineering. Honestly, like I said, I was working with my dad, and I was making all right money at 20 years old. you know, and that was only gonna grow if I just like had stayed, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Honestly, there was I want to say a spiritual guidance, you know, because I sat down there, and at this point in my academic career, I guess I could say, I already learned I had to sit at the front of the class. Because I was one of those people, I don't like to study, but I figured out if I sit in the front and I paid attention and I did the homework, I ain't have to study. I could pass all those tests because I already know it, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was sitting in front, and I'll never forget, it was the first day of class, and I had like 5 mechanical engineering classes. I had calculus 2, I had thermodynamics, I had, you know, metaphysics. It was like, forget about it. Yeah, exactly. It was crazy, man.
You get me
it's-
confused just saying it.
Yo, bro, it was a lot of math, you know. But again, I was good at math, so I knew that for sure. And I'll never forget the class started. The professor went to the board. He wrote one of the longest equations I've ever seen. You know, and I you know, it's like something I can't even explain. It was just a feeling, right? It was something in the back of my head just telling me like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
You know, like I could solve this problem, because that's the thing. Like the final exams and those kind of class at that level, the final exam is like 4 questions, because each question is going to take about 30 to 45 minutes, because it ends up being just using equations to solve equations. And you break it down and break it down, and you derive and you derive, and then the answer is an equation. It's not even a solid number. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I was like, I just had this feeling, this voice, like there's a theater department.
Yeah,
Go
it was
over there.
over there.
And
So you went over there.
see what's up. So I literally got up right in the middle of class. I had those big binders, like the leather ones that you gotta like zip, zip, zip. It was crazy. And so I was like, the professor was like, "Where you going?" I was like, "I gotta go. Sorry." So I walked out. I walked into the theater department. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked into the first office I seen, and I talked to the professor that was in there. I told him my story, and he told me, he's like, you know, unfortunately, you're a day late to switch your major. Like the day to switch the major was yesterday. And I'm damn. So you know, I don't know. It was divine intervention or something. He saw something and said, you know what, but let me get your stuff if you got it. And let me go talk to somebody. I said, all right, bet. So I stood in the class in that office for like maybe 15 minutes, you know, and then he came back and he was like, all right, well, you're now a theater major and you're late to your first class, acting 101.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's funny. That's funny that you mentioned that, because I went to George Westinghouse and I took up mechanical drafting engineering too. And same thing with you. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I was in my 20s and I didn't keep going on with that. So
yeah, you just
that's crazy.
You know, we in this life we just on a journey, right?
Yeah,
Finding ourselves.
Same thing. I went to Park West. I did culinary arts. Got all of my stuff. By the time I graduated from there, I still liked the culinary arts and still liked the baking and doing stuff like that. But it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I just became a labor movement, and that's what it was. But I wanna go a little deeper. I want to go a little deeper. Alpha Moon got to go a little deeper. Pause. Harlem chop cheese that up. That's what we say, because everybody loves chop cheese in Harlem. So we say Harlem chop cheese that up. But take us back. Take us back to Spanish Harlem. How growing up shaped your creativity? Not when you was in like high school and in college, because we all grew up in El Barrio, and there's different elements in El Barrio that if you don't stay on that right path, you can go off somewhere else. So who or what kept you on that right path? I heard you say a spiritual thing, you know, so tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely, you know, spiritual. I mean, I was raised the first, I want to say 12 years Catholic, you know, and we did the Sunday church every Sunday, but then we, you know, we moved away from the church, and then we ultimately stopped going. But I had already had church like inside, so then I had to, you know, as I continued to experience life, it was more about like connecting with God and just realizing that, you know, there's signs, and you like that realm is talking to you and protecting
Yes.
you if you're just paying
Yes.
attention, if you have that awareness. And that's really what started to happen. Because I mean, growing up in Harlem, I mean, y'all know what it is like,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially especially in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. It was East Harlem, Spanish Harlem was not
Rough.
a desirable place to live for many
No, it
people.
wasn't like it when the 80s and
The 80s was
70s.
rough too, and with
80s
the
was rough
I'm
90s
too.
sure.
and yeah, the
I'm sure. I
90s
mean,
was rough.
the neighborhood is still the lowest funded neighborhood in Manhattan, in the city.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which is crazy. But I mean, because the first 10 years of my life, we lived on Columbus 101 and across the street on Manhattan Ave, across the street. So it was West Harlem, and then we moved here. And I mean, I'll never forget. I mean, when you grow up in Harlem, you just, especially in these times, and I'm sure it happens today, but maybe not as much. I'm not sure, but you gotta fight. You gotta survive, right?
What?
Like you're gonna get tested. You're
What?
gonna get tested. You
Always,
know what I mean?
Always.
Right. You're gonna
Always.
get tested, man. And so, I used to fight a lot. You know what I mean? I had a short temper. But it was always self-defense type stuff. You know what I mean? I wasn't like the troublemaker.
Yeah.
But I already knew East Harlem was. I knew East Harlem was going to be a little different because I'll never forget the day we moved and we was in the car coming from West Harlem to East. Right there on Lexington Ave, as we driving by, there was like a gang fight, and you just saw a bunch of Bloods and Crips in the middle of the street, just
going at it,
dumping it out. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh snap! I was like,
Yeah,
okay, this
rough,
is what it's about to be. Like, I gotta be ready for this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
No doubt about that.
And so then growing up here, I mean, back then they had the the penny candy stores right across the street where I'm at. Remember that? They don't got none of that no more.
Yes.
Penny don't get you
No,
nothing.
no more of those, man.
They ain't got that no more.
A candy is 50 cents. A piece of candy.
Minimum.
Minimum.
So we had the across the street there was a penny candy store, and that was the block was. And now back then, we used to chill on the block. We used to chill outside. Like none of the, we had Super Nintendo, we had Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, but we were still outside.
Yeah,
for the
things
most
were
part,
different.
hanging out. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of that. Growing up with like Dragon Ball Z. I mean, back then it was the cartoons and the cartoons was different back then, right? You was excited to wake up Saturday morning because they had like the new, the Cartoon Network.
Futurama now, that's what they call it. Futurama.
What it is, what it is that everything has changed now. So social media messed all that up.
Right.
Okay, so now people don't even stay on unless you're making money on social media, on video games. The kids don't even stay on the video games that long. You know what I'm saying? They're not conversing outside, sitting out, chilling outside in the front, chilling out, and now it got so dangerous that you can't even really do that, without somebody, spraying up the place and, it's crazy. It's crazy. So,
But just to answer your question more specifically, because then I was going too broad with the backstory. I think it was about the time that we came up, right? Like I came up in the 90s, in the early 2000s. That the experience is just different, right? Because I remember having the Walkmans and flipping the tapes and rewinding it with your fingers to hear that again. And so as a storyteller, I pay attention to those kind of experience, like the experience that a human is having, so and then again, like just growing up in Harlem, you have to self-defend yourself. I think a major turning point for me was in high school. I had got jumped. It was the only time I ever got jumped in my life. And honestly, it wasn't even because I had beef or nothing like that. I was just wearing too much blue. You know what I mean? And this taught me awareness. Because
that's right.
I was like, I mean, I knew about the colors. I had family members that was in gangs. You know what I mean? I never joined one myself because it wasn't really for me. But I remember I wore like Man, I remember exactly what I had on. It was fly too, but it was too much blue.
It was fly. It
I
was too
was.
much
I'll be
blue.
honest. But I was like, I mean, you in high school, you start to feel yourself a little bit. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'll be all right. And I'll never forget, I was walking down. I came out of school. It was me and my boy, and he started trying to holler at some girls. So he went that way. So I gave him space. You know what I mean, to let him do his thing. So I walked forward, and then the next thing you know, I felt someone like grab my hand, or like So I turned around thinking it was my boy, but when I looked, it was like 20 to 25 bloods, and he just sucker punched me, like boom, and then it was just like like Charlie curling up, like oh snap. Long story short, I'm not the type to back down. So like when that happened, I got up, I had like a busted lip. It was raining. I slipped on the train guard. I hit my lip on the sidewalk, and I mean I wanted to retaliate. You know what I mean? I saw exactly where they walked into. I saw the projects. I'll never forget the kid's face that sucker punched me. And I wanted to retaliate bad, man. And I started making some phone calls, and then I had to make like a conscious choice. Where it was like, well, you know what's gonna come from that retaliation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it was like, so it was right, exactly. So it was like, so is it worth it? Like, because we can go make these calls, we can go and get these things and go and and retaliate, but what's gonna come after that?
Yeah, what's gonna
So
happen now?
I think that taught me awareness. You know what I mean? It taught me decision making. It taught me critical thinking. You know what I mean? Because I had to calm down and leave an emotion that I was feeling, and go, all right, well, that was a one-off because I ain't have beef. I was just wearing too much blue. So let's bring that ego down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's bring that awareness up.
But it's good. It's good that you did that. It's good that you did
had
that.
I been paying attention and had more awareness of my surroundings, I probably would have seen that there was 25 bloods walking up on 3rd Ave, and I probably would have went the other way, or just never given them my back. And so a lot of these things now, as an actor, as a storyteller, my awareness is so it's so high, so keen. As a storyteller, when I'm dealing with people, when I'm out in public, like it really shifted a thing for me. Where I was like, all right, like
so what point or moment you knew storytelling, whether it's through filming, acting, or photography, was your true path, your path?
So yeah, all these life changes, right? Then then my grandmother passed away, and that was a whole nother experience. You know what I mean? So life just kept starting happening to me, at like 12, 14, 17, then the first girlfriend and all that, and heartbreak, right? Still didn't know what I wanted to do with life, like for real. Speeding up the story, I used to work at this job at Jazz and Lincoln Center, right? And I was a young dude there. Everybody there was creatives, and long story short, I work hard, man. I like to work hard. like to be responsible. So even at that age, I was still climbing the ladder. So I became an assistant head usher, and so I was, sending people on their break and whatever. So one of the guys that was there, this white dude, his name is Paul Rona, man. I'll never forget because he said to me. Yeah, I'll never forget because he's a part of that story because he was like, yo, he was like, Mark, like, what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm a mechanical engineer. At the time, that's what I was doing, And he was like, really? And I was like, hold on. What you mean, really? Like a Puerto Rican from Spanish Harlem can't be a mechanical engineer, And he's like, nah. He's like, nah, that's not what I mean. He was just like, your energy, I would have thought you was an actor. And I was like, huh, like, that's interesting. He's like, you ever tried it? I said, well, I mean, I did a play in high school, but I never really gave it a serious thought, And he was like, you should try it. He was like, acting is one of those things that when you get on that stage, you're going to know immediately if this is for you or not. And so I think that kind of like marinated and just kind of stood with me. And there was a part of that spiritual guidance and that voice in my head, like, you could do this engineering, but it's not going to feed your soul. Go give this thing a shot. And he was right, man. He was right. Like I threw my everything at that. And I think the moment where it really solidified was the first performance I gave. You know, my parents, I thank God for my parents. They were very supportive when I made the switch. They were paying for my college. And so when I told them I went from mechanical engineering to acting, they were kind of like, what?
What? You crazy boy?
They were like,
Yeah,
you know.
is that gonna make you some money?
Yeah,
Yeah, you already know.
you're
So
local. What are you talking about?
right, they were like, yeah, they're like, oh, okay. Like, you know, they were kind of side-eyeing it a bit, but, you know, still trying to support it. And I think it wasn't until they saw me on stage and I performed where I started, I felt that energy. I felt what he was talking about. And it was just so natural and that inspiration. And then, you know, my parents ultimately afterwards, you know, with like tears in their eyes being like, they see it, they believed it in that moment. And they say, okay, go for it.
Yeah, big up to the parents, man. Big up to the parents. Give them a big up.
I was going to ask you, you know, how did CCNY studies in your theatrical, like, change you behind the camera, made you? But I don't want to ask that no more. What I want to tell you is, sometimes I'm listening to you, and sometimes your past dictates your future, and it's given to us through different people, like the gentleman that said, "Hey, have you ever acted before?"
Right.
You know, and then you went on to do something that you love and still doing it. So all of these little signs that you talked about earlier, I'm sure you probably played them back in your head, even the time that you got jumped until the time that you get ready to do your thing, you know, at the parade and stuff. These things guide us and help us stay in that path. So, you know, I commend you on that and staying in that path and listening to those voices, because they're not easy.
No doubt. Because I know you wear many hats: actor, director, editor, photographer. Which role speaks to your soul mostly? And why?
Yeah, you know, this was a big question, like internally for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I have a bachelor in theater. So that's like home for me. You know, anytime I get the opportunity to do something great on stage, I take it. I always tell people, like, if you want to make money, then do film, TV. If you want to grow as an actor, do theater. You know what I mean? It's going to teach you something new every time.
Yeah.
It's just a different experience. And so for me, the core passion is acting, you know, but it's interesting because I self-taught myself, you know, how to shoot a camera and how to direct and how to edit. All that came through self-teaching. I call, you know, YouTube University. And you know, but it got to a level where I was doing all these things at the same time. I was doing headshots. I was working events. I was working weddings, photography, video editing. Was editing videos for a company. I mean, I was doing all these things where certain people only knew me as an editor. Some people only knew me as a photographer. Some people only knew me as a videographer because I shot music videos. I used to do all of it. And so I ended up being so spread thin that I had to ask that question. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And what's beautiful is that God did it for me. And what I mean is, like, I'll never forget, I went to Puerto Rico and I just bought this brand new camera and it was like $4,000. And I just got there and I'm like, you know, I love to take photos of just anything. So I put out my camera and just start taking photos. And then the camera caught a mechanical error. Literally what it said, mechanical error. And I said, what in the, I just got this. So then, you know, I looked into it, like, you know, to repair, it was going to cost me damn near another $4 just to fix it.
To get it fixed. Yeah.
And I'm like, what the, you know how these companies do.
Yeah.
So, you know, anytime something like that happens to me, I usually just kind of sit back, sit still in it, you know, and just like, this is what I mean. Like, when you trying to now listen to what the world, what that realm is trying to say to you, it'll come to you.
Yeah,
so
that's
said,
that was the mechanical error. The mechanical error is like, stop. This ain't what you're supposed to be doing.
It'll definitely manifest
That
itself
error
to
code,
you.
the error code you got on your
Yep.
camera, stop.
Stop.
You ain't
Right.
supposed to be doing this.
Right.
You
It'll
know what I
definitely
mean? So that's
manifest
what it
itself
was.
to you if you pay attention to the signs. It
Legit.
definitely will. You know.
And so
Where
I
do
took
you
it as it was like, you got to put the camera down and just focus here, you know,
Exactly.
and that's
where
what
do
I
you
did
get
for
some
a
of
long time.
where do you get some of your creative ideas and your processes to go on and do these different projects, and then where do you get that ideas from, that
You
creative
know,
process?
I think it can come from anywhere, you
Mhm.
know. I used to do social media content at some point for about 2-3 years. That's why I got a little bit of a following. And at that time, I was smoking heavy.
I see that. I see
You know
some
what I
of
mean?
your work.
I was very, cannabis friendly.
Yeah,
Um,
you like to smoke up.
and
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Before it was legal.
right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at that time, I mean, you know how it is. That definitely opens up some portals, some
Yes.
creative flow or
Mhm.
something, and it could come from anywhere. I could be listening to music, right? And I think for me is because I know how to shoot a camera. What that gave to me is that it even superpowered me as an actor. Because
Mm.
now I have this awareness. Again, that's the
Mhm.
word, awareness. I have this awareness on set. I know what
Mhm.
those lights are doing. I know what this mic is doing. I know what this camera. I know what that
Mhm.
lens is. So it allowed me to be even more comfortable as
Uh-huh.
an actor because I'm not overwhelmed by the gadgets, by the none of it. I
Yeah.
could sit in the
Right.
pocket, you
Yeah.
know. But I could also have this eye. I just have this eye where I see things in frames, and
An eye opening up, brother.
so I could listen to music, you know what I mean? I listen to almost everything,
That's me.
and everything's gonna dictate that frequency. And so
Yes.
I can see movement. I can see movement. So I've created things just because I heard, a specific sound.
Yeah.
I've created things, because it was a true story, it needed to be told. You
Mm.
know what I mean?
So what's your most challenging project you ever worked on so far? And what
Oh
did it
man.
teach you?
The most challenging one is the one I'm working
Yeah.
on now, but
What's
to be
that?
something that this is a feature film that I'm gonna direct. It's gonna
Okay.
be I've directed before, but I've directed more like music videos, short films. This is gonna be
Right.
my first feature film that I'm gonna direct and produce.
Okay.
And I'm super excited about this project, man. This is gonna be like life's work kind of project,
Okay.
Like there's a lot of other. I've done so many indie films that everything was like. I put my heart and soul into everything I do, but
Right.
looking back at those projects, everything is that was like practice now for this big,
For the big one. For the big one.
I want to say, but something that I've already lived through. I think the most challenging, oh man, there's so many because it's like theater,
You got
you know what I mean? My first feature film, when you got to carry a whole movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll keep it to something more recently and something that we just visually saw. Doing I did 3 episodes on Law and Order.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't even supposed to be 3 episodes. It was supposed to be one, but they ended up liking what I did, so they added 2 more with me.
Nice.
And that was a different kind of challenge for me because at this point I only focused on doing independent films. And the reason why that is because I knew that the moment I start pursuing TV, they're gonna stereotype me,
Stereotype.
typecast me.
Exactly.
They're gonna
Exactly.
typecast me, they're gonna make me that criminal, that prison.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're gonna do that. Now I could
Yeah.
do that, right? Like we saw, I can do it. But I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that if you look into me now, you check out my IMDb, you know what I mean? You're gonna see a portfolio that shows my actual range.
Yes.
Right.
A body of work. A
You're gonna
body of
see
work.
exactly. You're
Yeah.
gonna be able to see the comedy. You're gonna see some drama, some tears, and then you're gonna see that stuff.
Yeah.
So when I made that choice, I was like, all right, I've been doing indie films for like 10 years. I'm gonna get my TV credits up now. You know what I mean? And this whole thing kind of manifested really fast, actually, because then I got an agent, and then I did Blue Bloods first, and then I did Law and Order. But and Blue Bloods was great, man. That was fire. But Law and Order was a little different because now I'm sharing the set and this camera with these two TV icons.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get intimidated by when you stood on that like, yo, I'm from a valley, ain't nothing.
Well, you know,
here's
in fact. So I walk into everything like that normally, and I think I walked into this like that. But then when I sat in the chair, I was like, I started to feel a little bit of nerves, right? And this is what's funny. I started because like it's it's a lot of people on set. There's a lot of lights, a lot of everybody. Like I'm sitting there, and like 5 people are touching me at the same time, trying to do things, and then I got to try to not like sit in character while this is going.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how the universe conspires for you, because unknowing to me, an old friend from like, I don't know, 10 years prior to this moment, I hadn't seen him since then. So I didn't even recognize him, but he's working as, I forget what his role was on set, but he's working the set and he pulls up and he's like, yo, what's up, Mark? And I'm just like, I'm trying to stay focused and shit. And he's like, yo, what's up? He's like, how you feeling? And he's seen what he's following me on Instagram. I didn't even know, but he was like, yo, it's a lot different than Blue Bloods, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's just a little levels to it,
Yeah.
Long story short, he was like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit of nerves. And he goes, man, why are you nervous? He was like, this is what you do. You know what I mean? He was like, you got this. And then like, I don't know, that reinforcement, I was like, word, you know what? It's not like I haven't been here before. I've been on big sets and
it's
stuff.
just who you surrounded with. You know what I'm saying? They made you a little nervous.
Right. But I didn't know nobody on set. You know what I mean? And then this person, and then I discovered that we knew each other, and that was a whole other story. But he kind of gave me that reinforcement, and that allowed me. And then I had to go into my training. I had to focus on my breathing. I was like, oh, okay, let's focus on the breathing. Let's sit back. Let's, get into the pocket of this. And then forget it. Everything changed after that, man, because then I started having these moments where Stabler, and we had this fight. We started joking with each other because he joked with me on set. And I was like, oh, that's what we're doing? I was like, all right, bet. Well, I'm a joke too. So then I had everybody laughing on set. And, I think the challenging part of that was remaining myself.
Yeah. Big up. And big up to that brother that gave you that inspiration while you was there, man, because it could have turned out different.
Yeah. Because I think what happens is, and you see this a lot, especially with like when you see bad acting or and that can happen anywhere. What happens is when people see the camera and the lights, now they feel like they need to put something on. They need to feel like they gotta now pretend or they there's like your voice change all of a sudden and
instead of being natural with it.
Right. So it's like you don't gotta do all that, you know what I mean? Just stay grounded.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Got one more date before we go to the full video.
Well, no, we can cut and come back to the full video. We can cut it.
All right. Listen, we're gonna get into our full video. And when I come back, we gonna be talking to the amazing Marc Reign in the building. Right after this. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I'm here with Marc Reign, actor, director, storyteller, and all-around creative force. We've been diving into his journey from engineering to the arts, and trust me, there's still so much more to unpack. So let's jump in it, and let's do it. Marc Reign's in the building. We're back. What's up, man?
What up, everybody?
Yeah, man. So, as a Puerto Rican artist in New York City, how important is it to represent Puerto Rican descent in your community?
Yeah. I mean, it's what's awesome, right, is that being an actor, right, the actor's work is actually internal, right? To be a really good actor, you have to do this work on yourself, right? Of self-discovery, of like self-purpose. And, you know, I've always been a proud Puerto Rican since I was a kid. My parents are proud Puerto Rican, but for me, there had to be a little bit more. I had to go a little deeper with it. It was like, but why? Why am I so, you know, why this thing? And so I started digging into the history, you know, of Puerto Rico and the, you know, the diaspora here in the city. And that then changed. It took it to a whole nother level for me, you know, because, you know, the truth is that, you know, if you are Latino, and not just Latino, if you're Asian, you know, but you're born in this country, chances are you don't know your history. They don't. You won't learn it here.
That's right.
You know. So when I started diving into that, that's what gave me then a new sense of purpose in this journey that I'm on. Because it was like, oh man, people don't even know how dark this history is. You know what I mean? And you know, I could say a lot, but not to get too much into it because it's a lot. But you know, if you go to Google, if you go to Google right now and you type in oldest colony on Earth, it'll tell you it's Puerto Rico. And you know, we have such a unique situation because we're not a state, but we are citizens, but we can't vote for the president. We pay the most taxes, but we're still undermined. I mean, there's a lot I could say, you know, and so for me,
it gets real deep, and that brings me to a question that I want to ask you. How do you feel the industry has evolved in embracing Afro Latinos? My son is an Afro Latino, right?
Love that.
How do you feel the industry embraces them and the Puerto Rican voices? And do you think Afro Latinos fall short in their story of getting that out? You know, yes, there's thousands, millions of Afro Latinos, you know, but we don't see them that much in the forefront, or they don't speak on it in the forefront, like they're ashamed of it. You know what I'm saying?
I think that, you know, and this is a good segue from the last question, because what I discovered, you know, greatly was that representation matters. Right. And
they don't have a lot of them out there.
Right. Like that, like you said, there's millions, right? But the representation for them isn't out there. And so I think that we're finding that space. The industry definitely hasn't, you know, they try, but you can still, you know, they whitewash even Latino films. You know what I mean? And if you're watching something that's Latino, you know, it's like the lighter skin Latino. You know what I mean? And even and like I'm like an olive, you know, I'm still like light skinned, but like even whiter. You know, and then
how you say blanquito? How you say?
Yeah, exactly. and then you know, there are so many Afro Latinos, right, and Latinas that are working in the industry at the highest levels, but you wouldn't know that they're Afro. You wouldn't know, right? Like, you know, Zoe Saldana just won her first Oscar. You know, she's an Afro Latina. You know what I mean? And in the film that she won it for,
people was complaining. People was complaining, right?
Well, that's a whole nother story. But you know, she kind of represented Afro Latina in that film.
That's my girl.
Because she did say she was Dominican in that film, which I thought was great. But we don't see it enough, right? Look at another actor.
I met her one time. I met her one time at a jazz club, jazz lounge. Yeah, I met her and stuff. She's a nice person.
I think what happens is, right, because there's more that I can name. Jared, I don't know if you saw that movie Unstoppable. It's about it's a true story about the American the African American wrestler with one leg.
Oh, yes.
Right, and so the lead, his name is Jared. I forget his last name right now, so that's terrible of me. But point is, he's also Dominican, but he's Afro Latino. But you don't know that. You know,
Right.
also when you think about Domingo right now, you know, he's in a lot of stuff and he's Latino also. But here's what happens is that because we live in such a colorist world, that visually in these stories and these films and TV shows, we haven't gotten to that place yet where people can see an Afro Latino and recognize that, right?
Yes.
Because they look black, they're just black.
Yes.
You know, and so we haven't figured that out yet. You know, this year, for example, at the El Barrio Parade, you know, I want to bring that more to the surface.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Big up to you, man. Big up to
I
you.
appreciate that, man,
Yeah,
because
man.
you know it's a lot. You know, like you said, there's a whole place in Puerto Rico where there's a lot of Afro Boricuas. You know, it's called Loíza, but you know, a lot of people don't know. You know, you may know because you're from Harlem, but Arturo Schomburg, for example, right? Arturo Schomburg is an Afro Boricua.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has a library in Harlem. He
Yeah,
has
that's why the project's over there too.
he has a tremendous story. Not getting too into it, but point of me bringing him up is that a part of his story is that he didn't feel accepted by Puerto Ricans and the Latino community because of his skin color, right? So he went around and he, at some point in his life, he stopped calling himself Arturo and he changed his name to Arthur. Arthur Schomburg.
So do you think Puerto Ricans, when they come over to the United States, a lot of them say, you know what, I'm gonna stay in my lane, I don't want no problems, you know, and this is why you don't get so many of them representing, because they just want to stay low key. I don't want nothing to do with nothing. I just want to come here and work for my family. And
I think it's a lot of it is a trauma response, right? And what I mean is, you know, for example, there's the stereotype of Puerto Ricans not knowing how to speak Spanish, right? Especially if you're from New York or you're from the States, the diaspora. And people, I mean, it's a true stereotype, right? Stereotypes, while they're not the prettiest, they're also not 100% wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but people, but what people don't do is they don't go to the root of that
Of the
stereotype.
problem, yeah.
How did it start? And the truth is that, you know, America took over Puerto Rico in 1898, right? There's records of Puerto Ricans being in the United States, in New York City, as early as 1901. But at this time, we were immigrants because they didn't make us citizens until 1917 when they needed people to send to war that they didn't care about. So what happens is it's a generational thing, right? It's trauma response because Puerto Ricans then were here as early as 1901. They didn't know how to speak English. They're trying to find another way to live because there was all types of crazy shit happening in Puerto Rico that America was doing to Puerto Ricans.
And still doing.
And still doing. And so what happens is that now us being here, right, we're being oppressed and we're also being bullied because we don't speak English great, right? So what happens? That kid that's like beat up and bullied and oppressed because he don't speak Spanish, English, you know, he now grows up, he has kids. You think he's going to teach his kids how to speak Spanish?
Spanish? And that's what I've always
Absolutely
told
not.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden we got, well, I think also a lot of people don't realize that Puerto Ricans was here much earlier than a majority of these of the other Latino cultures, right? We could throw Mexicans in the mix because this land was Mexican at one point, right? But as far as everyone else, Puerto Ricans was one of the first Latino cultures here. So we took a big brunt of that abuse and oppression and bullying for speaking Spanish, right? So now their kids don't learn Spanish because they don't want them to be bullied. Those kids grow up, they don't teach their kids Spanish, and so forth and so forth and so forth. And now we have this thing. You know what I mean? So it's very deep, you know. And so I think that because then it's for Afro Boricuas especially, there's another layer to it, right? We can now we're jumping into racism, you know what I mean? And that unfortunately is even thriving these days, which is crazy.
And my son's grandmother is she was from Ponce, you know, so in PR. So, you know, she always, I remember my son as a little man, and she would always speak to him in Spanish. You know what I'm saying? And those things like that. Now I have a granddaughter, and I encourage him to speak to her in Spanish.
I do the same thing. My granddaughters too.
To me, it's important because that's how you lose your roots, your generational roots, your heritage. And this is the thing that's going on now with even with Black Americans. They lose their roots, where they came from and their history, and these things are perpetuated by storytelling over the years and denying people different things. I mean, we can get on.
We can go on and on. Like you said, we came here. We're not supposed to even be speaking English. We're supposed to be speaking our language from Africa. Our language. We got turned into this thing, and and my granddaughters, they're Puerto Rican. Well, one of them is Puerto Rican, and I always tell my wife to talk to her in Spanish, and she does. She always talk. The mother don't speak Spanish, so that went down to
skipped over
that part. So we like, okay, she tried to teach her, but she was like, she never caught on. She didn't want to do it later on or anything. She speak very little Spanish. My daughter, but the granddaughter is the one now that you got to focus on. Give her that Spanish. Give her that. Let us speak it. Let us speak it.
Yeah.
So let's get into So since we're talking about this, right? How do you, Marc Reign, stay motivated in a field that's full of rejections and unpredictability? Because all of this that we're talking about is crazy, and it's getting even worse.
Yeah. No, I love this question, honestly, because as an artist, as an actor, we just got over a strike, and the industry has not healed from it. On top of that, to make things a little bit more difficult for us, AI is getting crazy. It's getting scary, and a big part of the strike was AI,
that's what the strike was.
And trying to protect ourselves from removal, right, of this art process. And it's like the root of everything is greed, right? So they just like, well, if we could create these stories that you'll still come to pay for without spending all this money on actors, and it's just a lot to say. But for me, I think that what's kept me positive, what's keeping me moving forward is purpose, right? And like, okay, AI is going to get crazy, and one day we're going to live in a world where you're going to have on Netflix, it's going to say AI generated films and human generated films.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where, right. That's where I see it coming from, but for me, and then also attaching this to the, why I think it's important as a Puerto Rican actor to continue to push that history and that awareness is that we still have our stories to tell, right? And AI can't come up with that.
No.
You know what I mean? AI is not going to be able to do that.
Nope.
It has to be us. And I think, I've pivoted now. This is why I'm doing this feature film, because I've realized that, you could be on the hamster wheel of this actor thing forever, trying to climb the ladder.
And they ain't going nowhere.
Right, book all these credits and just hope that they recognize you and put you on. And I mean, I'm not gonna say that I ain't never gonna jump on that field to play that game, but I just right now where I'm at, I'm like, I see, even more recently, look at Ryan Coogler, right? Like, look what he's doing, and he made his film. And all it took was one, Fruitvale Station, and now he's a powerhouse. You know what I mean? You look at Lena Waithe, you look at Issa Rae, you look at Tyler Perry. And I mean, I'm pulling from, I pull a lot from the Black community, and I think that naturally growing up in Harlem, like we grew up together.
Side by side, side by side.
Right. And so I think that, right. Boricua, Morena, right? I think I pull a lot because our stories are very, like, historically are very similar. You know what I mean? This is why, and I mean, the Caribbean was like the mixing pot of the world with the slave trade. You know what I mean? Which is why, I think, Puerto Ricans, a lot of times it's us versus us. You already know, because there's Puerto Ricans that look white as white, and there's Puerto Ricans that are like black, you know what I mean? And then we're all in between. So it's a struggle for us, So, for me, I'm like, we have to be able to tell our stories because I'm inspired, right, by
Mhm.
the Black community and how, it was buy Black, build Black.
Yep,
You know what I
like that
mean?
food.
And that's where Latino excellence comes from because I took a page out of Black excellence, right? Where it
Uh-huh.
was like, y'all build yourselves up.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing to witness. And I seen this thing and I was like,
Now
this
it's
is
time for
amazing.
us. Yep.
How do Latinos get to this
That's
now?
right.
You know what I
Mhm,
mean? And
mhm.
it's I want to say there's a little bit of an extra hurdle only because of the colorism thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're the whole spectrum.
Yep.
We have light eyes, dark eyes, curly hair,
Everything.
straight hair, red hair,
Yep.
blonde hair, black hair.
Yep.
Mhm.
The whole every melanin percentage.
Yep.
And that's a struggle because, especially in America, because
Yeah,
racism is just thriving. So
crazy.
for me, it's like it's about then telling our stories, right? And what I mean
Mhm.
is like, how do we get to that place? Like, this is what I mean. That's why I bring up Ryan Coogler, who has like probably the biggest and best film of the year so far. If we go back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you know, the Black community was all still struggling and still trying to find their place in the industry. We
Mhm,
need more representation. Where the Black directors, where the Black stories, where the Black
Mhm.
producers, the Black actors. I mean, we had, Denzel forever, Will Smith
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman even, but it still wasn't there. And this is why I always give light and flowers to Tyler Perry
Uh-huh.
because I'm not some of his movies I'm not a big fan of,
Yes.
but what I loved about his commitment and his
yeah,
Mhm.
dedication to building the
dedication.
Yeah.
industry
Mhm.
is
Uh,
was so admirable to me because he said, I don't care if people like it or not.
No,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna do it.
tell, I'm gonna
Yep.
make Black films for Black people
Yep.
and it's gonna build us up. And now the Black Hollywood is in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? And Black is like it's thriving, and I was just like,
yeah, he
this
came
is
a
this is
long
my
way with
new
that.
this is my new purpose, in my journey as an artist. Where I'm like, I want to be a part of all kinds of films,
So
but I
what
think the
is
route is to make our own.
so
No,
what is yes, sir.
no doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
So what is some of your rituals or habits that keep your creativity sharp and grounded? Like when you wake up in the morning or you get ready to do a film, what are some of those, rituals, habits that just keep you grounded?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now in present day, because I got a lot going on, making sure that you get a movement to your body, right? So
Mm,
I go to the gym and I do boxing because with everything that I got going on, that's an outlet for me to kind of just escape from everything. And it's just me in this bag, and I could just be thinking about anything, and I'm compartmentalizing. I think that's the mechanical engineer side of me still in my brain. It breaks these things up. Um, but find what's gonna bring you that peace. What's gonna
mhm.
allow you to breathe, which in today's world, man, it feels like they don't want nobody to breathe.
No, I feel like
And
suffocating
Yeah,
everywhere, every
right,
minute,
like
everything,
they're
everything.
attacking us
every
from all
second.
angles, man. These
Hey,
tariffs,
everything.
Everything.
removing all kind of laws, putting
Yeah,
new kind of laws.
put
I mean,
laws in.
even when all these planes were dropping, I'm like, they're attacking our psyche. They're attacking our
Yeah,
psychological right now. You know
exactly,
what I mean? They
exactly.
want you
Exactly,
to
because you can't get me on
Yeah,
nobody plane
you gonna
right
get
now.
on the
see
plane. You
they
gonna get on the
I,
plane, but that's why I
listen,
don't get
I
on the
drive
plane.
everywhere I'm going in the United States. If I get to the end of the United States, then I get on a boat, then get on a bus, then get on another boat. I'm not getting on nobody plane right now.
I
Big
think that more than anything, making sure that your mental health is solid is what's going to allow everything else to stay, to balance because
Blessings, blessings.
the food, all of our food right now, the food industry is rough. Everything is
Yeah.
processed because the
Hmm.
corporates, they just want to make it cheaper for them and expensive for us. And living in a city like New York City, the air quality ain't great. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're being attacked from all types of
Well,
angles.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so to keep sane, right, and not crash out somebody, You gotta be able.
Do
You
it.
gotta be able to find a thing that's gonna allow you to recenter yourself.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Because
right.
the world's gonna constantly try to push you in one direction or another.
Mm-hmm.
And if you crash out, they're like, yes, we
Yes,
got
I
another
like
one.
that. I like that,
We
Mark.
got
You're
another
right.
one.
Yep.
You
And
know
I was
what I
getting,
mean?
Right.
and I was getting ready to ask you that. I was getting ready to ask you, like, what advice would you give a young creator who feels like he's stuck in between stability and his passion? Because you get stuck in there, you don't know where to
Yeah.
go, especially
You don't know where
with
to
all this
go.
stuff going on.
And you're gonna
It's
crash out.
so it's so tough, man.
Yeah, it's
Because the younger generation are definitely growing up in a different world, right? Like social media is the thing, clout is the new drug, attention is the new currency, and so it's a different world to navigate for the younger generation. But I think the answer is still the same. I think that find your lane, find your niche, right? Like the thing that you really want to do, the stories you really want to tell, focus on that
And go hard body at it.
and make sure that everything you do has intention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you start doing things that ain't really got no intention, you're just doing it to do it, the results are gonna the results are gonna do the same. They ain't gonna really provide much.
No doubt.
One last question for me.
Be intentional.
What I want to know, what dream project that you haven't done yet, that's still living rent free in your head. Like I haven't done it, but it's there. I gotta do it. It's just living rent free.
There's a few, but I think the one that my mind immediately runs to is a handball film. And I used to play handball like a
I used to play handball all the time.
We did too.
Bro, I used to, yes, sir. And like I said, like this film that I'm working on now is a dream project that I'm working on. This is gonna be one of those ones for me, but thinking about another project that I've thought about since college, is the handball film, man, because I used to play in tournaments. I had a crossroads in my life, actually, where, it was like, all right, are we going to focus on being a good actor, a great actor, a good storyteller, or are we trying to be an A player and win handball tournaments? Because you can't do both, unfortunately. And I was at that crossroads because I would go to college. I would learn my lines, go to rehearsal, and then I go play handball. And I was always on the edge of being elite, but I couldn't break through because I was also spending time on the other stuff that I got going on in my life. And I knew the people that were at the top of the game in the city, in the country, internationally. And these people are playing handball all day, every day. You know what I mean? And they are committed to being that thing. And I had to decide. I was like, you know what? At the time, and even still today, it might still be true, but it was like, but there's no money in handball. You know what I mean? So like, I could be the best player, but I already know one of the best players. His name is Rookie. There's a few like legendary, like Michael Jordan type players. And I have this, I'll send it to you. I have this trailer I did in college. It was called The Rookie, and it was a handball film that I was trying to do. But the story was about how people, when they think of handball, I think the general thought is that it's like Mexican and Latinos just there playing. You know what I mean? But what was interesting to me is that at the time, the top player in the country, his name went by The Rookie. He was a tall black man. And I wanted to tell this story because, his story is very interesting. And he was homeless and he used to hustle people in the park, making them think that he wasn't good at handball, but he was the absolute best, And so for me, I was like, I can't be an A player anymore. I'm past that at this point. You know what I mean?
So hopefully you get it, get that off the ground.
What I can do is put handball on the map globally. Show this culture, right? Because this is a culture, this is a whole world. I always tell people, like, there's this thing where it's like there's only 12 stories you can tell. Like when you break down a plot, the plot line, and when you think about like every story, it's like one of these 12 plots. What makes a film original is the world that you put into one of these plots, right? So think about like You Got Served, right? You Got Served was so big because we knew this plot line. Actually, we've seen this plot line still to this day. You know, they have like they're struggling, and then a big tournament comes, and then like they go to the tournament, and then they win, right? It's like, but the struggles, we've seen this a bunch of times, right? Think about Dodgeball, the comedy film with Ben. Same thing. Guy down and out, needs a big load of cash, big tournament comes, has a rival team, they win at the end, you know? So the plot's the same, but what makes both of these movies completely different is the world of it. And so I want to take the world of handball, put it in the plot line, create these really real and vibrant characters, and tell that story so people can experience handball.
Yeah, man. Yeah, big up, man. Marc Reign in the building, man. Brother, we could have you here all night.
We'll definitely be chopping it up all day.
Yeah, man, we definitely have to get you back on the show because we only here for 2 hours and stuff like that, man.
I appreciate you.
And we appreciate you coming on, man, on the show. And
definitely thank you for having us at the parade, the festival 116 El Barrio. We appreciate that. And like I said, that's our hood, always grew up there. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Marc Reign in the building, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate y'all. Respects, AK Alpha Moon, BK Pinky. Shout out to y'all, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. Big up to my brother Marc Reign in the building.
Many hats. Portfolio is large, man. The brother doing his thing, man.
Yeah, man. That's a wrap on today's conversation with the incredible, talented Marc Reign in the building. Like we said, from engineering blueprints to directing film sets, his journey is a proof that it's never too late to follow your passion.
Facts.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with everyone that needs to see this inspiration today.
Yep.
Right now, we're going to get into some news with the one and only BK Pinky in the building. That's right.
We're back.
Yeah.
That's it, man. What you got for us, Pinky?
Yeah, man. What's good?
Man, you know I got the news for you, BK Pinky. We got the news, man.
A lot of shit going on.
Oh my God. Well, good evening, everyone. This is BK Pinky. My first news segment. I call this a dummy of the day. He's a big dummy. Remember Sanford the Son used to call the son the big dummy?
Yeah.
That was him. Well, this guy tried to rob the post office.
What?
The post office, bro.
Where they do that at?
Yo, he tried to rob the post office, Millville Post Office, over there on Coney Island Avenue about 1:15 p.m. With a gun. And this guy, man, he didn't get no money. How you try to rob the post office?
Bro, come on.
And he got no money, no moolah.
That's crazy.
Listen.
So now you're going to jail
for what?
And you ain't even accomplished nothing.
He ain't got no money. He ain't get no stamps.
Oh my God! Not even the black stamps.
Not even the black stamps. Now with Harry Tubman on it. Not even the black stamps, bro.
Man.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That's wow.
You went to the post office to rob what?
Nothing? True crash dummy.
So
yeah, he also crashed though.
How does occur inside? Don't you work for the post office, right? You work for the post office.
That's what made it even worse.
So is this area is next to you or
this is like Coney Island area. Okay. Going towards that way, in the Midwood area.
Right.
And about 115.
Did anybody get hurt?
Nobody got hurt. He put a gun to the lady back. Lady was scared. It was crazy. All I can say is crazy.
That's great. So how he get away? How did he he got a getaway car?
Let me show you. He tried to get away. You're gonna laugh. You know them little look like one of them Uber Eats DoorDash bikes. Electric.
It's not
bikes.
funny, but
what, a scooter?
Oh, they said it's a moped.
Come on.
I think the one that you pedal.
Oh man.
Nah.
He didn't even have the motor. He ain't even have the motor.
He ain't even have the motor.
That's crazy.
He probably still had the DoorDash bag in the back. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. When he crashed to another car. Good Samaritan has got but then before that, he said 2 hours later, after that, he tried to rob a check cashing place.
Maybe he got the two mixed up.
Bro, come on.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe he got the two mixed up.
Maybe he wanted to go there first, right? Check cashing place.
Yeah,
right?
then go get another bag.
And then probably one of the mails.
What other bag? He didn't get the first bag.
No, listen. Then he probably want to mail some money to the post office. Get a stamp.
Funny, man.
He had to get a. It's crazy. Yo, but I'm glad nobody got hurt.
Yeah, man.
You know, it hit hard because let me tell you something. And he's a black male. His name is Travis Trowler, 37 years old. And I just don't get it by black people.
Yeah.
Right? Black people don't know how to plan shit.
Yeah.
You gotta plan this shit. You ain't plan. You just went gusto.
Yeah,
you gotta
know
plan
he ain't
it.
getting none of that no post.
Bro, you never seen Money Heist. You never see Heat. You ever see Set It Off? Oh, I'm sorry, them black women.
Yeah.
But at least one of them got away.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Oh no. That's
I don't
crazy
understand.
on that one. Yeah, that's crazy on
What
that
else you got there?
Yeah, this is for my immigrants, man. You know, our people came, you know, from Africa. It was born here. You know, we was immigrants too, right? My ancestors and stuff.
Some of us.
But I'm happy for them now. Because there's an app. There's an app.
App for what?
Yeah, for what?
So
tell them where Trump is at or something.
This app is for so that they detect when an ICE agent is after them.
Wow.
This is called ICE Block.
Wow.
ICE
One of
Block.
those
over
things.
there.
Yeah, one of those things. That's
Wow.
crazy.
That's
crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So they detect, you know, they at work, say they're at work, they, you know, they washing dishes, they doing, you know, construction, you know, stuff like that. And then they say, oh, ICE agents, they're around the corner. Let's go.
So
I got the app for it.
Yeah. So
That's
how would
legal too?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
It's
saying, how
legal.
is that detecting
I don't
them
know.
that way?
I don't know.
If it
Because
don't,
that's internet snitching.
It's going to Wi-Fi.
App snitching.
no, listen, that's
absolutely.
getting the hell out of there. That's what that is.
App-
Shit. If I had that shit, I'd be like, you'll fucking
Yeah,
be out.
but does it ring? Like you could set it for when they come up in the
I guess,
area
you know,
or
you
something
put in the
like that?
earplug or whatever. It said ICE agents is near.
Wow.
I guess.
You lying.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
lying.
For real?
I'm
It don't
for
say
real.
that. I gotta see that for myself.
ICE
man.
agents is near.
Sound like
Absolutely.
the RoboCop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, RoboCop. Oh my
Yo, but this is crazy. But for black people, the new app called Black Ice. But you know, you can't see it. It's like ice, you know, you can't see it. It's slippery, but you can't see it. You know. Well, yo, but that's the new app I heard, you know. So y'all look out for that,
It's
man.
on
Make sure
major
y'all look out for that.
platforms. It's on Google. You know,
it's on
Android,
Google,
iPhone.
Android.
Y'all better check that out, man.
Check that out, man. They got a block of ice.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is to myself, like, how long is this gonna last up there? Because if they know that they can get tracked when they're around the corner, come get you, they're gonna shut that down.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of
They're gonna do something.
Yeah,
they're gonna do something. You know, Trump is looking at this already. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You know,
Damn
we
it,
can't
I
do
want
this.
all
We
of
can't
them
do
back
that.
on my golf course.
Want all them at the Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's crazy, man.
It's crazy.
Well,
man.
any
It's crazy.
kind of protection from all of those ICE officers, I know we joking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But any protection, you know, from them officers and
right
that could help, you know, people. I mean,
and then
people getting picked up for no reason, veterans, you know. So
I don't know if it's me, but I still don't get the logic behind it, because first it became they were doing it for criminals.
Right.
Okay, fine. But this is way beyond that. These people, half of these people built this state, United States. Now you're gonna get up and tell them, or ICE agents come and just destroy everything they own. Take them from where they're at and go take them somewhere else. And they helped build this place. They helped build this place.
But see, that's what they did. They tested the waters. They did it with the school kids. Remember when they was busing all of the immigrants over, and then the kids couldn't get into school because it was all that, and people was complaining. They were just testing the waters. Then they started, you know, with the Haitians, and then they started throwing toilet tissue at the people from the hurricane in Puerto Rico. Just testing the water, and then hey, we only going to do this just for the criminals. Then they send them to that prison, and then now they say, "The hell with that, let's get them all," and they just start grabbing up everybody.
It's just crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's a shame.
But keep protesting out there, L.A., New York, all the 50 states.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yep.
Keep holding it down, people. Keep holding it down.
Pray for y'all. On the last note, my New York Knicks. It was a good season. It was a good season.
You went to a couple of the games, right?
Right. Yeah, we went to a couple of games, man. I was proud. But we fell short to the Indiana Pacers. We made it to the Eastern Conference Championship. 25 years. You know, we need that. Yep. That was a good moment for New York City and people that's far and you know that came from New York. So
and the true
that was a good moment.
You know?
True fans, man. 25 years, man.
I hope we picked up some good players. You know,
They came a long way, man. Came a long way.
Man. So we picked up some two good players. One is about to be signed.
Right.
Jordan Clarkson, ex-6th man of the year. He was in Utah Jazz. He's now got a 1 year. Well, hoping to get a 1 year veteran minimum to sign with the Knicks. And just a couple hours ago, we signed Rashawn Yabusele. He was from Philadelphia 76ers. If you remember, he the one that dunked on LeBron in the Olympics, you know. So that was ugly.
Yeah, he ain't like that. He ain't like that.
That was ugly work.
That
was ugly work.
That was ugly work. But he's strong. He is center power forward. He got 2 years, 12 million. You know, he's a good player. So because listen, we had 15 points average in the series. Detroit, Indiana, Detroit, Boston, Indiana. We had the bench scoring was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I blame it on the coach or or the organization.
Well, you know,
For
the
me, I
coach
blame it on
always.
the coach
Yes.
always going to be.
Yep, the
you know,
coach
the
always
GOAT.
going to get blamed.
Yeah, listen. He
I mean,
gonna
half
be
of
the
the time,
scapegoat.
it's not even his fault.
It's not
But-
even his fault.
It's the
but-
owners.
It's
But
the owners.
the
The
but
ownership of the organization. You're supposed to get good bench players.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you know, the
Provide us-
organization, they ain't gonna put it on their lap, so they're gonna have to say, "Oh, it was a coach."
Yeah.
You know, so let's
But-
fire him. You know, let's get somebody else, and half of the time, it's not even his fault.
Right. But then again, I say, well, you was playing these players, you should have played them more.
Uh-huh.
Or try to get them out there. It was some players that I think they deserve that be on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you didn't play them.
Mm-hmm.
You could have played 2 or 3 other players that severely play. You could have played
Yeah.
PJ Tucker. PJ
Uh-huh.
Tucker's a champion.
Yeah.
He was a champion.
Yeah,
You
he
put
know
him
that
for
well.
2 or 3 minutes.
Yep.
Put him on the floor, rough him up, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yo, this is New York.
Yep.
This is
Take it
what,
back to the Oakley
95,
days. Yeah.
93?
Yeah.
What? You take it
They
back
show-
to what?
They show Starks in them a couple, flashing them a couple
Yeah.
of old players.
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
LJ,
Yeah. They were showing them,
Ewing.
yeah.
I was
Come on,
watching.
man.
I was watching a couple of Knicks game from back then.
They was the boys.
Knicks.
Crazy.
Listen, I was watching the Knicks. I was watching the Bulls when it
Oh,
was the
man.
Bulls.
Yeah. Boston.
It was
You got
Knicks.
Boston.
Let me tell you,
Boston.
it was yo.
My
people used to-
all-time favorite is Dennis Rodman. I'm sorry,
yeah.
man. Dennis Rodman,
crazy.
I take him over anybody, man. He was an animal, man, a beast.
Yeah,
You
on
know,
the boards, man.
Yeah,
Beats on the
yeah,
boards. He's
Yeah.
0
On the
points, but got 20 rebounds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like that's crazy.
Exactly.
That's because nobody wanted to stay next to him.
Yeah, he was a wild boy, man. Wild boy.
Dennis was wild.
Yeah, Dennis was
I
wild,
remember
bro.
that time. I don't know. Maybe you know because you're more into Knicks than me. The day when Patrick Ewing do an alley-oop instead of slamming it in and they
a
lost.
finger roll.
Oh, finger roll.
A
yeah.
finger roll.
Oh my
95,
goodness.
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
95.
Yo, I was
Bro,
so upset.
Game 7.
Yep.
And why
Yeah,
you
you
didn't
do that.
boom it? Why you didn't boom it? You
Yeah.
finger rolled it.
Game 7 at home.
Oh man, that was
And you didn't boom it?
Yeah. That was heartbreaking.
yeah,
That was heartbreaking, man.
I
What?
think even up to today, they fucking still get on about that
Yeah.
shit.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
still get on about that.
That
Yeah,
was
he
about
dropped his books. He lost his lesson on that one.
you were supposed to slam that down. If you missed the
That's
dunk,
it.
I wouldn't even got mad, but that was
Exactly.
I wouldn't even got upset. But a
Yep.
finger roll?
Yeah.
What
The
you thought he
last-
was Gervin?
The
Yeah,
last
yeah.
seconds
Thought he
too.
was
the last
ice. Yeah,
seconds.
he Iceman, all right. He iced it.
Oh man,
I
that's
got you.
crazy. That's
That was crazy.
That's crazy.
And, DK Pinky, we're back, season 4.
yes,
And that's
sir.
the news.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir. Bacon
Yes,
and a
sir.
half. Yes,
Season
baby.
4.
Season 4.
Don't miss out. This is not the only one left, man.
It's going up. It's going
12
up.
more episodes, man, and you don't want to miss
Yeah.
any one of them. Yeah, man. So I don't know if you guys heard last Sunday was Pride weekend. And so Sunday, June 29th in New York City, Pride ended in chaos. You know what I mean? Pride weekend in New York City ended in violence and panic Sunday night, after 2 teens were shot near the historic Stonewall Inn. You know where they say that Stonewall.
Right.
One was 16 years old.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, she was critically injured with a gunshot to the head.
Wow.
16. And another one was 17-year-old girl, and she was shot in the leg. They said she's in stable condition right now.
But then I heard it was a girl that was shooting.
I don't know if it was a girl, but I know they apprehended the person. The shooting occurred around like 10 p.m. in Sheridan Square. And I remember Sheridan Square because as a paramedic, I used to always go down there to pick up patients in that area. And but the police said it's unclear if it was a hate crime, because
gotta be a hate.
LGBT, yeah, they were down there celebrating. So
Yeah, it's hate
I
crime.
think it was. I think it was.
I
But
think so.
Right.
My personal
allegedly,
Allegedly.
Yeah.
right?
Because
it's like,
we don't know. Because I guess we don't know if the person that got shot was they gay. It could be a straight.
Fact.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It could
she
be a
could have been there
straight. She could have been there
supporting a friend
supporting a
you're right.
friend. She
Yeah,
could
we
have
gotta
been
get some more.
right.
We got some
Gotta get some more
clarity on that.
info on that.
yeah,
Because we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
She was
But I
15
think I
years
saw
old.
some. I think I saw some footage on the news about that.
Oh man, it could listen. It could be a girlfriend. It could be
Right.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
A bystander. You know, a bystander. Right.
You know,
Innocent
it could,
bystander.
it could have. It
Yeah.
could be an innocent bystander. Maybe she
Yeah, because
wasn't.
everybody that go to
intended-
parade,
right? It
don't
wasn't
mean
the
they're gay.
intended party.
Right.
Yeah, and it's crazy because earlier that same day, but this was in Washington Square Park. Chaos erupted over there after a man sprayed beer mace into the crowd.
Beer, man.
Beer. Did I say beer? I said
You said beer.
You must want a beer.
You want a beer?
His mind talking. Beer spray. I think people would have been like,
beer mace into the crowd.
Okay.
So now over 50 people was injured and resulted in the stampede as thousands, try to flee. And I think they said they thought it was a report of gunfire. That's why everybody started running. And like I said, the suspect was arrested at the scene, and it's just crazy. And witness,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, because the witness described the panic as confusion, and good thing about it that since during that stampede, no one was seriously hurt. There was no life-threatening injuries.
That's good.
Right, that's good.
Only injuries that they sustained is because the police had barricaded that area. So once you start barricading the area and everybody's
trying to get out,
trying to get out, you looking for people to get hurt there. But
Yeah.
thank God it wasn't life threatening, man.
Right.
But
Thank God.
this is crazy. This is why I don't go into crowded spaces.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of them crowds.
Hold up.
Especially these
I just got an update. I think the person that got shot, the 16, I think she's in stable condition.
Oh, she did. Stable condition.
Which one? The
She's
one got
stable.
shot in the head?
Right. She's in stable condition right now.
Okay.
Wow.
So we
Thanks
pray
for
for
that
her
update.
and her thanks for the update, man.
Yeah.
Pray for her and her family.
Pray for that and our family.
Hopefully she'll be able to sustain a normal life.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes you know.
Right.
So hopefully she comes out of there.
Yeah.
Good. So,
Yeah. It's crazy,
yeah.
man.
But
Just be careful, people, with going to all of these big outside functions and stuff like that. Keep your third eye open, because it's a dangerous time that we live in now, where people just want to do malice and harm for no reason, for a person's color, their skin, for their gender, for what they believe. It's really getting dangerous. So we just got to be aware. And if you say something and you're a civilian, if you see something, say something.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I was saying, this is like one of the reasons why I don't really go to too many crowded functions.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me anxiety. Like I'm like, you know what I'm saying? You know
know
how
me.
we used to be.
Yeah.
You know how you used to. We go into a club. Which one? Where's the exit at? There's one there, and there's one there. That's you know. And what you used to say, AK Alpha Moon. People start running. You get to next to the wall and stay there. Don't run with everybody.
Because you running, you're gonna get tramped.
Gonna get tramped over, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you got your threat assessment as soon as you walk in the door,
sooner
you come in, don't be looking for the bar. You know what I'm saying? You look for those exits. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you want. If you can't get to that exit, you get yourself plastered on the wall. Stay as low as you could be, and just pray to God that everything works out fine because everybody's thinking like you to run to that door. Everybody want to get out.
Everybody want to get out.
Everybody want to get out, and that's how you get hurt. So you go into a place, even if it's an outside function, you know what I'm saying? You start looking for the threat assessment where you could get safety at. If you're outside and there's some big trees, you might not get a view of the stage that you want, but get to that tree, stand there, enjoy the concert or whatever, because if anything happened, that's your stationary thing right there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a shame, but you know.
I don't know if you remember. You remember that? I call it WWF. Remember that in Soho, that big fight?
Oh, when we was doing the Puck building?
The Puck building.
Yeah, we was doing the Puck building.
You talking about get the table, get the chairs? That's what it was.
It was,
we had
it
to
was
put
crazy in there.
We had to put the women in the closet.
Yeah, it was crazy. Puck
It was
building
crazy.
They was getting dinged with the Moet
They was-
bottles. Like,
oh
ding,
my
ding, ding. You're like, yo, what the heck is going on
What's
here?
going on?
It's crazy.
It was
man.
crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
we've been into so many situations like that. When we was on, even when we was on stage.
Oh yeah.
We was on stage one time.
I messed up there though. I messed up big time. I threw homeboy out the wheelchair like, yo, my family got to get out of here. Like, yeah, God forgive me, but it was crazy, man.
Yeah, we were on the stage, and then what happened was there was one guy there that was heckling heckling somebody, right? The comedian.
Yeah, the comedian.
So this guy, after doing all that heckling stuff, the guy went outside. Now this is kind of the security's job. Once you go out and you just had an altercation with somebody, you go out. How you let them back in?
Yeah,
That's what I couldn't understand, right? As security. So he let this guy out. Lucky thing, we were the last thing that these people heard on stage, because we had just finished performing. Me and Esmelinda, one of my artists with us, did our thing on stage. As soon as we finished, this guy comes back in, shooting up the place. Everybody's running out.
Man. It was crazy. And
we stood next to the wall.
Homeboy standing there. Well, he wasn't standing, but blocking blocking the joint. People trying to get out.
Well, that wasn't his fault. I mean,
his fault, but like
the guy was in a wheelchair and he was blocking the door, and everybody's trying to run out.
Hold up.
Yo, that's why I had to after we done plastered up on the wall, now they security got homeboy. We trying to make our exit out because they got homeboy. So he blocking up the thing, and in the panic, he had to be moved out the way. You know what I'm saying? So
they don't tell me you did one.
I had to move him out the way. I had to move him out the way. I moved him out nicely, put him in the corner of like escorts doing the hospital.
Bro, come on.
It was crazy, man. My adrenaline was kicking in. Homeboy know what it was. That's it.
What?
Yeah, we've been in a lot of stampedes, man. A lot of from the puffy one in City College.
Yeah.
That was like the worst one I ever seen in my life. To like I said, the one that we were in just now, and just people just be careful out there. That's all.
Be careful, man. Be careful.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
So I want to get into another thing. So President Trump has reignited his campaign against transgender and non-binary Americans, right? Issuing a wave of executive orders that he had, since he started his term in office, right? And among the most controversial one, a renewed ban on transgender service members. So now thousands of our military personnel face discharge and the loss of hard-fought rights to be in the military. So he's kicking them out of the military, which is insane.
That's crazy.
Just because of their
But I want to know this though. What is your problem? What is your real problem
against them?
Because it gotta be. Let me tell you, it's gotta be something with him when he was younger.
Yeah, probably or maybe he was messing around when he was messing around with Epstein.
Maybe
and
somebody,
all, all that stuff.
Maybe somebody was messing with him.
I don't
You
know.
understand what I'm saying? We don't know what we don't know. His,
I don't know what's wrong.
What's going on because it's like you so like
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Homophobic with this craziness.
Yeah. And what does it mean to serve our country and to be told you don't belong?
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? How
you walking around
how is
with
that possible?
Because you walking around with makeup all day.
Yep.
Every day you got orange makeup
and an orange wig.
And
an orange wig.
And an orange wig, brown. I don't know. All day.
I don't know, man.
And you got something with the gays, the lesbians, and what's going on?
These people, they
people
are there. Yeah, they are people. They're, they have families, they have feelings, they have, and they're there to protect us on a military aspect.
Yep.
No matter if you're transgender, if you're gay, if you're this or that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're able to do what you have to do in the military.
That's right. In that oath. You took that oath.
Don't let him find out one of his staff members is in the closet.
Could be.
It's crazy.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. Could be.
And this battle is beyond the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
This battle is beyond the battlefield.
Yep.
With the transgender and these
they taking them books out. They taking them books out. They doing all of that.
Who should have a real? I think it's time for him to have a real say so.
Who's that?
The Pope.
Oh,
Leo.
Well, you seen what he did. You seen what he did to the
Leo the lion.
Leo the lion.
Yeah, well,
I think it's time for. It's like maybe he get on like TV because he's the Pope now. Everybody know who he is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I'm looking for a real speech.
Well, he disrespected Trump. Disrespected that. What was she was a cardinal? Remember?
Yeah, the lady.
Yeah.
So
I don't even think
that's
what
I'm coming to.
Yeah.
You disrespect someone in the church, right? And she was probably to me she looked like she was gay, lesbian, whatever.
Yeah.
She
She
looked it like it. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Right. But this is the time for the Pope.
Yeah.
But she come on. She prayed for you.
Why he said that too.
Prays for you.
Yep.
She prayed for everybody.
Yep. And that's probably why he was like that.
Right. That's why he ain't and that's why he said that, because he ain't like that.
He don't care.
Yep.
That's his problem. He don't care. And people got to realize this and understand. You voted for a man that don't care.
But
they don't care what happens. Long as he get his agenda, he get his thing done. He don't care about nobody else.
He want to be King Trump. That's what he want to be. King Trump. No president.
Only for a day. Only for
a day.
That's what he said.
Yeah. His man done ran out on him.
Right.
Yeah.
Now his man is against him.
You see what his man said in the ad.
Telling all his
said that. His man said that in the ad, saying, "We trying to get him out of there before then."
Yep.
I'm trying to get him out of there. He already put that. You at the parties, the Epstein parties.
Yeah. That's what I said. He telling everything.
Was there. Don't tell me you wasn't there. You was there.
And he said
Donald
like
Trump.
this.
We
He
already
said
know.
like
Donald
this.
Trump. We know that.
He
was
said
there.
like this to Trump. He said he wouldn't have won if it wasn't for me. Wink, wink. I'm telling you, they probably was tapping into them servers and stuff, man. Allegedly.
And Elon, he already knew that his thing was tanking, going down. I got to get out of here.
You got to get out of here.
I lose all my shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's bad enough people don't like me now.
Yep.
Right.
You know, now I'm following this dude.
You're
Now
losing money from Tesla. You know, Tesla, you don't want to lose that money. That's losing money.
Everything.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't know if it's too late for him, you know, as far as like, you know, people want to, you know, continue to be with him, work with him, whatever.
Nice product.
Because they did a lot since he was there.
A lot of damage.
A lot of damage.
It was burning your shit.
And people don't forget that. People don't forget that. So you're just not going to just come back like, oh, everything's fine. I'm back. Let's go. No.
Did y'all hear Jasmine Crockett? I believe I
that's
pronounced her name right. When she talked about Ivanka Trump.
That's my girl.
Trump, what's Trump's wife's name? She spoke.
I don't know.
She got
Melanin.
Yeah, she came here.
Melanie.
She came here.
I saw her one time.
Epstein visa.
That's where she probably came from.
No, she came. You know, they have like an Epstein visa. Not Epstein.
Epstein visa.
Yeah.
What's that about?
What's that
She could have came in on that. Yeah,
She could have.
What
is she, like a model
like
or something?
Yeah.
What is she? She's the model.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And Trump
yeah.
trying to get rid of all the immigrants, and she came here on that. They said they just flumped up the charges and gave her that prestige award, and now she could stay in America. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is so unconstitutional,
it's
discriminatory.
Yep.
But I'm sure the fight is far from over, man.
Far from over, y'all. Keep fighting, y'all.
Yeah, keep fighting, man.
You gotta dethrone this dude, man.
Yep.
King TT.
Yep.
And what's scary about this
King Tropicana.
What's scary about the situation is that he just started.
Just started. That's crazy.
Yep.
And how many years he got left? He just started.
Yep. He got like three and some change.
Three
and some change.
That's gonna be
3 and some change.
That's gonna be something else, man.
It's too much.
Yep.
You know, all this stuff going on. We're losing freedom of speech. You're losing this. We're losing that.
Losing everything.
Yep.
Sad.
Losing our mind.
Yeah.
So,
it's crazy.
all we can do is just hope and pray things turn around. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. You know what I mean?
So I want to. I ran across something in the paper today, in U.S. News. Televangelist Jimmy Swagger. Y'all remember Jimmy Swagger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember Jimmy Swag.
Yeah.
Jimmy Swagger, whose ministry was toppled by prostitution scandals back in the days, died at 90. I thought he was dead already.
Wow.
I didn't even know he was still alive. I was like, Jimmy Swagger.
Yeah, my grandmama used to be.
Yeah.
I bet you Trump is going to that funeral.
Probably so.
I thought
Jimmy
he was
Swagger probably was
a long time ago.
Too,
yeah.
90 and 80. What? When Epstein died? Like 2 years ago. 88. He was there.
Yeah.
And I remember as being a little kid, my grandmother used to always watch him on TV.
Jimmy Swag. I remember Jimmy Swag. He was big before freaking was Joe Osteen.
Right. So you got to remember, in 1955, he started this full-time ministry as a evangelist.
Yeah, evangelist.
He started in 1955, so that's way before any of us was probably born. He was born.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then when we noticed him was in was 1973.
Yeah.
Right when he launched that Jimmy Swagger
Right.
telecast,
Yeah.
Right.
which
TV
brought him
joint.
to national
Yeah.
prominence.
Right.
But that's when we noticed him.
Right.
Yeah.
So
His
that goes
mama
to
was
show
watching
you,
him.
yeah. Because I remember sitting there watching my grandmother watch Jimmy
Jimmy Swagger.
Swagger.
Jimmy Swagger.
Sending money for some.
He was sending
some water.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Jimmy was getting that hustle
Jimmy
on.
was getting that hustle on, man.
Oh man,
He was the real pimp.
Uh-huh.
He was pimping them, man. He's pimping people on television.
They had another one allegedly like him too, black brother. What was his name? What's the name?
He was gonna say Ike Turner.
No.
Ike Turner.
Nah. He's a beater.
Man.
What's his name? He used to wear the little gold
Reverend
ring.
Ike. No,
Reverend Ike.
Reverend Ike.
Yeah, they was running around together.
He's Reverend Ike, brother.
Right.
Yeah, Reverend Ike was black. He wasn't white.
It was a white.
Yeah,
he was black.
I'm thinking of the other guy. What's the other guy?
Billy Graham. You
Billy
think
Graham.
Graham?
Yeah.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham.
Oh man.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, people, once again, this is crazy. Once again, we would like to thank our subscribers for tuning in today, man. Also, we'd like to thank our super talented Marc Reign for being on the show today, man. Big up to Marc Reign. Thank you for coming in the show, man. Papa Wolf, you want to give us words of wisdom, man? Give us
let me give you the words of wisdom. I definitely want to thank Marc Reign. He dropped a lot of jewels on us and taught us a lot in the importance of being culture driven. So this is my words of wisdom for the day. Culture driven is just like an asset, a trade of grain of sand, just like an outfit to wear made of cowhide. It's the protection of a woman to a baby's cry. Culture driven means fear for some to explain the past of where they came from. Know your past so you know your future, you know your history. Culture driven.
Yeah, man. Listen, we're going to leave you with my food video. And guys, until next time, man, have a perfect weekend and protect your peace, man, at all times.
That's right. Protect your peace.
Pinky, get us out of here, man.
And if you walk away from me, I just love you from behind.
Next week, y'all, check the food video out.
What is tagine? Tagine is a slow-cooked African stewed dish, cooked in the cookware of the same name. Tagine is a type of clay or ceramic cookware and is a dish that originated in North Africa. Let's do some preserved lemons, the quick method. Combine water, salt, and a saucepan. Bring to a boil, add lemons, and reduce your heat and let it cook for 30 minutes until the liquid is reduced to half and the lemon rinds are tender. Typically made of meat, poultry, or fish, along with vegetables or fruit. Tagines are a staple in Moroccan cuisine. Tagine is usually cooked over hot coal, but you can use a slow oven or gas electric stove with the use of a Dutch oven pot. Tagine is often served with couscous. After seasoning your chicken with salt and pepper, heat oil in an 8-ounce Dutch oven over medium-high heat. Add your chicken to the pot and cook until browned. That'll take 12 to 15 minutes. Transfer chicken to a plate or pot. Add your onions to the pot and cook until golden, 10 to 12 minutes approximately. Add your olives and preserved lemons. You can now return your chicken to the pot. Add your chicken stock. Add your spices and cook for another 2 minutes. Place the lid on the pot and bake the chicken covered until it's tender. That should take about 35 to 40 minutes.